The severe distress is genuine. I find the idea of being compelled by any government to wear some sort of muzzle across my face is extremely distressing. It makes me very angry. I mean, people haven't told me what to wear since I was about 15. No, I think the damage is irrevocably done. I mean, I described the actions of the government at the beginning as like those of an incompetent doctor who amputates his patient's leg to cure a bout of flu. The problem with this is that although it's funny as a cartoon or as a joke, in fact, if anybody did that, it would be a gigantic tragedy and a huge piece of incompetence. And in fact, what this government has done, particularly to the economy, but also, I think, to liberty and the political system, is irreversibly destructive and tragic. And it cannot be undone. That's the whole point. There are many actions which cannot be undone. And they've spent more money than exists in the world. And then they borrowed more money than exists in the world to make up for the fact that they've destroyed what was already a very troubled economy. I think very early on, somebody said, where are the brakes on this thing? There haven't been. You could pump on the brake mark Parliament. And when, to the extent that any of this was put before Parliament, which is very, very likely, there was almost no opposition to extraordinary, immensely ambitious demands for extra power for the government. No debate, no opposition, no vote. I regard the state and its power as like weeds in a garden. The gardener's job is to keep it cut back, to make sure it doesn't become too powerful, to make sure that the plants which do grow are the benevolent plants, the fruitful ones or the beautiful ones, and to keep the weeds down. I've always regarded the state's tendency to seize more and more power over our personal lives as like a sort of bindweed or Japanese knotweed which erupts in your go. You have to keep cutting it back. And it's a natural tendency of power to grab more. When I was first involved in politics, you could walk into Downing Street. You could stand outside, as I did one day in 1973. You could stand outside the door of Downing Street and shout rude slogans, and then you could walk off. And it was open at both ends. Bit by bit, over the 70s and 80s, tin barriers appeared at the end. And then, of course, came the age of modern terrorism, and huge, elaborate, sort of Byzantine gates were erected. And I thought, when those went up, I thought they'll never come down again. Because however little terrorism there is for the rest of the history of the world, nobody will have the nerve to say, let's take these gates down, in case something happens, and he is then blamed for what happened after the gates came. This isn't a free country, in effect, anymore. There are many actions which cannot be undone. And they've spent more money than exists in the world. And then they borrowed more money than exists in the world. I think the damage is irrevocably done.